Okie dokie. So in this section, let's learn about Spring Cloud Sleuth. So Sleuth provides Spring Boot auto configuration for distributed tracing. It configures everything you need to get started. So this includes where the tracer data spans, how many traces to keep, i.e. sampling, and if remote fields are sent to which libraries are traced. Now, this pretty much just adds a trace and span IDs to SLA4J MDC. And MDC stands for Mapped Diagnostic Context, and it pretty much provides a way for us to enrich data, i.e. the log data, so that we can correlate data across multiple services. So in here, you can see instrument common ingress and egress points from Spring applications, servlet filters, REST template, schedule actions, message channels, fake clients, and others. And if Zipkin is available, then it basically sends the traces via HTTP on this port right here, which Zipkin should be listening on. And we'll configure this in a second. So obviously you can basically have a look at the configuration, which I'm going to show you in a second. But to be honest, this is a very simple example. And what I want to do is, so if you click on learn, so in here, go to learn, and then go to the reference docs, and you can pretty much just click on any of these links right here to learn more about it. So in here, if I click on getting started, and then what I want to show you is, so basically have a look. So the following image shows how span and trace look in a system. So if I zoom in, there we go. So in here, we have a request, and at this point, there is no trace nor span ID. So the span is the basic unit of work. And then we have the trace ID. So this is the ID which is unique on a different service. So in here, have a look. We have a request that is sent. So right here, there is no trace ID nor span ID. And as it goes through the service 1, have a look, the trace ID becomes X. So throughout the entire system, the trace ID will be the exact same thing. The request goes from service 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way back. And if you look at the trace ID, they're all the exact same thing. But what changes is the span ID. So as it lands on service 1, the span ID is A. Then as it transitions to service 2, it becomes B. Then you can have a custom span ID in here, becomes C. Then as it goes through service 3, becomes D in here. And you can see that you can also generate a custom span ID. But all the way back, you can see that basically it goes all the way to F. And then as it goes back, you can see that it basically matches from the request to response. So let's go ahead together and add this library. So in here, if I close this and let me go back, and let's add Spring Cloud Sleuth to our microservices.